Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Case Cracked is the show where we look into a mystery and what are the critical pieces that help solve that mystery. Today's episode is called Searching for Cleo. Australia is known for its natural beauty. You can travel to diverse environments, from gorgeous ocean beaches and bright, dry deserts, and of course, everything in between. On Friday, October 15th, 2021, Mother Ellie Smith, her two daughters, 4-year-old Cleo and baby Isla, and their stepfather, Jake Glidden, headed to Quabba Blowholes campsite, about 46 miles or 74 kilometers north of their home in Carnarvon. The blowholes are a natural formation on the Quabba coastline. Ocean waves force water through sea caves that open to narrow holes in the rocks, creating large jets of water that shoot into the air. The area also offers many activities, including white sandy beaches, snorkeling, and picnic spots. Oysters and crayfish can be found among the rocks and reefs as well. This was a spot the family really enjoyed and frequented often. They arrived early in the evening in their Ford dual cab ute and began to set up what would be their weekend campsite. By 8, their tent had been pitched and it was time for the girls to go to sleep. Dressed in their matching pink pajamas with flowers and butterfly designs, the two nodded off quickly. Their parents were soon to follow. Ellie was woken by Cleo around midnight, asking for a drink of water. After she gave her drink, Cleo returned to bed. At 6 a.m. the next morning, Ellie woke to check on the girls. When she drew back the partition that separated hers and Jake's bed from the rest of the tent, she was shocked to find that Cleo and her sleeping bag were gone. In a panic, she and Jake searched their campsite, as well as those campsites around them, hoping that Cleo had just wandered off. When no sign of her was found, 30 minutes later, emergency services at 000 were called, and Cleo was reported missing. Within an hour, officers had arrived and attempted to lock down the site, keeping campers inside as well as keeping other people out. Investigators back at the family's hometown of Carnarvon checked the family home with the faint hope of finding Cleo there. When they didn't find her there, the investigators made their way toward the blowholes, stopping any vehicle they saw leaving the campsites as they drove in. Within 24 hours, State Emergency Service, or SES personnel, were searching the family's campsite and those around it. A helicopter had joined the search along with more officers who set up roadblocks. By 1:45 a.m. of day 2, Ellie was becoming frantic. Everyone thought and hoped that Cleo would be found quickly nearby, but as the day passed, she began to have her doubts. Early that morning, she posted an emotional plea to her Facebook account that read, quote, "It's been over 24 hours since I last seen the sparkle in my little girl's eyes. Please help me find her. If you hear or see anything at all, please call the police." When campers at the park were questioned, investigators found that from between 3 to 3:30 a.m. on the 16th, a vehicle had been spotted at the intersection of Blowholes Road turning south onto the Northwest Coastal Highway. They also remembered the sound of screeching tires during that time. Once all those present were questioned and all cars were searched, campers were released and allowed to leave. On Monday, search and rescue services along with aerial units began to concentrate their efforts on shacks in the area. They found nothing. Day 4 of the investigation, police decided to release pictures of Cleo's pajamas and sleeping bag, along with a plea for help to the public by Ellie and Jake. In it, Ellie asked, quote, "How did someone come into that tent and take Cleo? How could someone take a child?" On the 21st, Western Australia State Premier Mark McGowan announced a $1 million reward for information that led to Cleo's location or to the arrest and conviction of anyone involved. The next 12 days were filled with endless searches and leads of all kinds being tracked down and discounted, while the family's fears mounted and hope drained. Cleo's family continued to do all they could to help in the investigation, and investigators threw everything they had into the search. Luckily, November 2nd arrived, and the lead that everyone needed was handed to them. At this time, investigators will only reveal that their suspect was known to them. After a tip regarding his car was called in, police conducted a traffic stop on him near Carnarvon around midnight, where they arrested him on the spot. This took investigators to his residence, just 2 miles from Cleo's home. Officers used a battering ram to force their way into the locked home. As they searched each room, they came across a little girl, alone, just sitting and playing.
What's your name? What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name is Cleo.
Hello, Cleo.
18 days after the little girl disappeared, Cleo had finally been found alive and well. Everyone present was brought to tears. At 4 a.m., Western Australia Police Deputy Commissioner Cole Blanche alerted the public to their find. "We were literally looking for a needle in a haystack," he said, "and we found it." The suspect, 36-year-old Terrence Darrell Kelly, was found to have no connection to Cleo or her family, and the crime was deemed to be one of opportunity and not premeditation. He has been charged with several offenses that include forcibly taking a child under 16, which carries a sentence of 16 to 20 years. Kelly has reportedly not had an easy time in jail. Twice since he was charged, he has been taken to the hospital for self-inflicted injuries, but has continued to cooperate with authorities. When investigators were asked if Kelly was the driver of the car that had been sighted near the campground, they said, "That hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but certainly we would say that car was significant and it was in the right time frame." People who knew Kelly were shocked to hear of his involvement, even though they admitted to not knowing him very well. They described him as a very quiet man who kept to himself. On the 4th, he appeared before Carnarvon Magistrates Court, where he had several outbursts. At one point, he asked the magistrate, "What the F are the media doing here?" To which the magistrate replied, "It's an open court." Before the session ended, he was heard to say, "I'm coming for you." It's not clear who he was talking about. He will appear before the magistrate again on December 6th. Now, investigators are focusing in. Quote, "From the police perspective, we're backing away from the conversations around Cleo and really focusing on how did this happen? Who was involved? What happened in those 18 days? And what evidence do we have from each and every one of those 18 days forensically?" Acting Police Commissioner Cole Blanche told ABC Radio Perth. He also revealed that their investigation had uncovered cell phone data that helped in their search. He insisted this case was being solved by dogged, methodical police work. So far, several items, such as a rug and a Bratz doll that were taken from Kelly's home, are being examined now in Perth for evidence. One warning they offer the public is something we should all remember. There's been a lot of wild theories online through this investigation. It's unhelpful. We see that it's untrue. It only damages people. We got a legal process that we'll need to go through. That's where the facts will come forward. When news of Cleo's return was announced, blue lights were lit in public buildings in Perth in celebration of the event. In her hometown, balloons were flown everywhere along with signs that welcomed the little girl home. Ellie told friends and family through social media, "Our family is whole again." Since her return, Cleo has been evaluated by doctors and was found to be physically okay. She has spent most of the time since she was found sleeping, eating, and cuddling with her family. In a statement to the media, her family thanked law enforcement for their hard work, as well as those who supported them through the search. Quote, "We are humbled by the love and support that we've received, not only from our local community, but the whole of Western Australia and across the country. We are so thankful that our little girl is back within our arms and our family is whole again." Case cracked. I would like to thank theindependent.co.uk, bbc.com, cnn.com, the New Zealand Herald, abc.net.au, 9news.com, npr.org, australiacoralcoast.com, news.com.au, and the Evening Standard. Of course, the biggest thank you goes to Christy Arnhart for researching and writing up today's case, and here she is now to discuss it with us. Well, Christy, so thankful to hear that Cleo is found safe. And honestly, in terms of feel-good stories for this year, I think this is one of them. What an amazing job that law enforcement did on this. Like,
Yes.
There are aspects of this that I know we don't know about. What was the motive? Why did he take her? What happened in those 18 days? I imagine some of that will come out during the trial. Quite honestly, I'm kind of scared of knowing what might have happened around all that. But I know it's part of the process because there needs to be justice served for whatever happened.
Absolutely. And really, for a child that young to have to remember what happened in those 18 days, I mean, she might not even know that a lot of what happened to her was wrong to begin with.
Right.
Now, I did see that specialists were being brought in to interview Cleo, and they're also talking to the parents about how to help preserve her memory. So what she does have, she won't lose. And that's great. I haven't heard of them doing that before.
Yeah. Almost like sounds like a double-edged sword a little bit, but just getting this girl all the help you can right off the bat. I did an update last week on the Maya Miliete case, and there was kind of a similar aspect where they were talking about that forensic interviews have already been done on Maya's children, because there might be aspects of those interviews that are important for the court proceedings. They need to capture those and have them down somewhere, and you're not going to put a child at the ages that we're talking about here on a stand. So knowing that there's professionals that are working with them, in that instance, we're talking counselors, people that are very experienced with this. It's just, I imagine it's just such a tough thing, and what good people to be able to take on that work and to help these young people in that way too.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I'm still questioning. I know we put it in the script and, this is what law enforcement's saying. I'm personally questioning if there was any level of premeditation around this or not. And I'm only wondering because of the logistics of, this family goes on a little mini vacation 40 miles away, and the little girl winds up 2 miles from her home.
Yeah.
So it almost sounds to me like, is this someone that could have been around her in some way? Maybe not someone directly involved in their life. Maybe he saw them at the local supermarket regularly, just something along those lines. But I did also kind of take a look at a map of the area, and there's not a lot going on out in that area. It's a lot of wild land. And the cluster of towns is really, there's like one town north of the blowholes, and there's a cluster of 5 or 6 kind of towns south of there. Of course, which one of the towns is her family's home. So just the logistics of it are there's a possibility. There's a possibility that this is just a guy that happened to be from the same area, but it's put a big question mark up for me in terms of that. What do you think? What's your feeling on that?
I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think that with the things that he enjoyed, the Bratz dolls, collecting those, I think he fixated on having a child like that. I don't know that he targeted Cleo specifically. Maybe he was just at the campgrounds that night and thought, that's the one I want. But I do think that there was premeditation, insofar as he did want to accomplish something like this. But I don't know that he stalked Cleo specifically out.
Do we know that is the Bratz doll his property, or was that a doll of hers from before the abduction?
No, that's his. He has walls in his house that are full of Bratz dolls that he's collected.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of strange. I remember there being a little controversy around Bratz dolls because they have a little bit of a sexualized nature. I think they've kind of toned away from that. I think now they're kind of more teen fashion focused, but I know there was some critical comments about them initially. So he's a collector of these? He's got walls of them? Oh.
He has walls of them. He would take them with him when he went places.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
so
I know when we're talking about cases like this, there's with these types of conditions, young person goes missing from a campsite. I mean, it's Dior Kuntz is just springing right to my mind. And we know that we've got, private investigators that are basically saying, hey, we think it's the parents too. I imagine in this case, the public was probably looking pretty strongly at the parents as well.
They were. The police consistently said that they weren't suspects, but they took a lot of online abuse, a lot of accusations. It was sad to see. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really tough. It's unfortunately kind of a side effect of this. I mean, even with what we do here on the channel, people trying to have open conversations to learn from these situations, but there's other people that want to have conversations. I don't see the value in I was right about the particular outcome. So like I've really tried to stray away from that in terms like we'll talk about possibilities, and I usually won't try to, I might weigh one a little stronger than the other because of the conditions around that possibility. But it's really, really tough. You really have to be so sensitive to something like this. And then, of course, we have major media that is just looking at everything on the internet. And if someone says something like that, they're automatically an internet detective or labeled a web sleuth, even though they might not even work in this as an actual, field. So it's, it's pretty frustrating. But ultimately, it's about the little girl, and it seems like at least the family recognized there was a lot of good people around them too, because they were, thanking everyone for all the help and the support that they received.
And I loved seeing the balloons and the signs and everything. That was really sweet.
Yeah. But kind of along those accusations that might happen around social media space here, we also have a major kind of news network in the area firing off an incorrect accusation and some fallout around that. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I saw on SBS.com that a man named Terry Flowers, and who also goes by the last name of Kelly, I think it was his mother's name, was reported by Seven Network, which is a major Australian television network, as being Cleo's abductor. Now, Cleo, she was on the news and social media when he got word about this while he was at the hospital with his baby. It was so bad. After talking to the police twice to have the pictures removed, he eventually got so upset, he had a panic attack and had to receive medical care. This poor man. Yeah. He said, what they did was go straight on Facebook, got through my photos and uploaded on social media and spread it around, not just in Australia. This is worldwide. People are still knocking on his family's doors, and it's upsetting everybody.
So I imagine that his Facebook account basically has Kelly as the last name. They just did a kind of simple search on Facebook, found a guy that is in the rough area. Do we know if Terry Flowers actually lives in Carnarvon?
I don't.
Yeah, that's
a good question.
Yeah, I'd just be curious. I mean, at this point, the poor guy, I want to leave him alone. Like, I almost thought about just not even putting his name in this, just saying, hey, there's some guy. But obviously this is its own news item at this point.
Oh, yeah, because from what I read, he's going ahead with this lawsuit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's definitely suing them.
Yeah. Wow. But I did also hear that he was actually I saw a statement that was released. He was also very happy to know that this all had a good outcome, despite whatever he went through. The little girl is safe.
Yes, him and his wife both are tickled to death for them.
Yeah. Well, guys, this case obviously happened in October. It's still extremely active. So if there are any significant developments or updates on it, we'll be sure to let you know about it on an upcoming video here. But I hope that it's just justice, swift justice, and Cleo is able to continue on with her life and gets all the resources that she needs to move forward from this, and her family. Yeah,
definitely. And hopefully there was no one else involved, because I know the police are kind of looking that way too, to see if he had any accomplices.
Christy, thank you so much for all your work on today's case. And we have some other people to thank right now. Thank you, PayPal supporters Angela Bordak, Jennifer Wilson, Larissa Mertshank, and Hillary Green. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com. There, you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee, like Catherine Simpson recently did. We know that learning about the mechanisms that help support and find justice in these cases is important to understand the many unsolved cases we also cover, so we really appreciate your support in allowing us to continue doing this. Remember, you can get another Lord and Art story every week on the Seriously Mysterious podcast. A new episode is coming tomorrow and every Tuesday after that. Visit seriouslymysterious.com and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcatchers. While you're here, hit that bell icon below if you want to catch one of our weekly Secret Studio live shows. And of course, I'll be back with a new unsolved mystery for you on Friday, right here on the Lord and Arts channel.